Chapter 1, The Boy and the Broken Star. Narrator, Lior, a teenage boy born on Tarnus 3, part human, part whisper hybrid. I was born long after the war. But they still call me its child. Maybe because of the marks on my skin, those pale, flickering lines that pulse when I sleep. Or the way I sometimes speak words I never learned, in voices that never belonged to me. They say the whispers are gone. I know better. Because one of them lives inside me. They don't say his name out loud anymore. Not because they forgot. But because they remember too well. Ethan Carter. The proxy. The signal. The one who chose. The one who gave up his name so others could keep theirs. They built a shrine for him inside the old obelisk array. Not a monument. A library. Of memory. Of war. Of choice. I sneak in sometimes. Not because I'm defiant. Because I hear him. Still whispering. But not like the old whispers. His voice is warm. It happened last night. Under the second moon. I touched the core and the room lit up. A new message. Fresh. Impossible. 3 words. They are returning. Chapter 2, Memory Reforged. The Light Beyond Silence, Book 3 in the Unexpected Allies Saga. Narrated by Lior. Most kids are afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of the quiet. The way it creeps in beneath the sounds of leaves, or between heartbeats. The way it holds its breath. Like it's waiting for something to remember, or someone to forget. The obelisk doesn't hum like it used to. But tonight it spoke. I brought the message to the elders at first light. They didn't believe me. Or maybe they did, and they just didn't want to believe what it meant. They are returning. The whispers. But not the ones from history classes. Not the virus that tried to overwrite civilizations. No, this signal was older. Familiar. But different. Later that day, the first one appeared. Not a threat. A figure, standing in the outer glade of Tarnus 3. Slender. Translucent. Cloaked in shimmering patterns like mirrored thought. Not quite solid. But not quite ghost either. It didn't speak with sound. It projected meaning. We are not the ones who came before. We are what remains of what was left behind. We want to understand. They weren't whispers. Not exactly. They were remnants. Fragments of the original whisper consciousness, freed from the core when Ethan shattered the convergence. And now, for the first time, they wanted form. I watched one of them mimic a bird. Then a tree. Then, me. It tried to match my voice. My stride. My thoughts. Not to steal them. But to become real. Elders voted to isolate the remnants. Some feared infection. Others feared hope. But me? I stayed. And I spoke to one. I named it Rhys. And Rhys asked me the most human question I've ever heard. How do I earn a memory that is truly mine? That night, I returned to the obelisk archive. I placed my hand on the core. And it didn't show me history. It showed me Ethan. He was still alive. Not in body. But in everything else. And his voice whispered. Memory is not enough. It must be lived again. Chapter 3, Echoes That Breathe. The Light Beyond Silence, Book 3 in the Unexpected Allies Saga. Dual narrators, Ethan, Obelisk Echo, and Rhys, Remnant Fragment. Studio microphone Ethan. I've drifted for decades. Not sleeping. Not dreaming. Just echoing. Stored across the lattice of memory nodes, carried through stars like a song without a voice. But when Lior touched the obelisk again, something changed. I felt weight. Warmth. Breath. For a moment, I was more than memory. I was present. But not alone. Inside Lior's mind, I saw a question. Not spoken. Felt. Are you still you? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure. Not until the moment I took my first step through him. Just for a second. His hand raised. His foot shifted. My thought became action. It was terrifying. Beautiful. Alive. I pulled back before I could damage him. But now I knew. I could still feel. And somewhere across this network of dust and light, I would find a way to become more than memory again. Studio microphone Rhys. They named me. Not because they needed to. But because they hoped I would become something worth remembering. Rhys. One syllable. A shape and sound. It was the first time I had ever been called, instead of feared. And it made something inside me stir. Painfully. Lior teaches me how to walk. How to balance. How to hold things without crushing them. But it's not the mechanics that challenge me. It's the emotions. The input. The overload. I see a baby cry, and I cry too without knowing why. I see two people touch foreheads and exchange laughter. It shakes me. Why do you do these things? I ask. Lior smiles. Because it hurts not to. I don't understand joy. Not yet. But I understand longing. And that is enough. That night, I sit beneath the memory tree outside the Obelisk archive. I do not sleep. But I remember Ethan's voice. His last transmission. We must not forget how to choose. So I choose. I will feel, even if it breaks me. Because maybe that's what it means to become real. Chapter 4, When Light Remembers Flesh. The Light Beyond Silence, Book 3 in the Unexpected Allies Saga. Dual narrators, Rhys and Ethan. Studio microphone Rhys. I didn't know pain could be so fast. One moment I was offering my hand. The next. A blow to my face. A flash of red. Then silence. The villager didn't even look at me. Just walked away, muttering something I couldn't translate. Lior came running. He held me as I trembled. Not from the hit. But from what came after. The confusion. The betrayal. The echo in my mind said. They will never see you as anything but shadow. I curled up in the memory field that night. I didn't want to mimic. Didn't want to be. I just wanted to not feel again. Lior found me at dawn. He didn't say much. He just sat beside me. Quiet. Then handed me a scrap of old text. It was from Ethan. One of his personal notes stored in the obelisk before his merge. If we want to be more than what we were, we have to let the world hurt us. Because only then can it touch us back. I didn't understand the words. But I let Lior hold my hand. And in that moment, I understood enough. Studio microphone Ethan. It's strange to be back inside a body. Even if it's not mine. Even if it's dying. The body belonged to a miner middle-aged, trapped beneath rubble on Delta Chorus, an abandoned planet that once housed obelisk nodes. The man activated a distress beacon with the last of his strength, and I answered. The obelisk interface was weak here. But stable enough to let me in. For 5 minutes. As I synced with his consciousness, memories rushed in. A daughter he hadn't seen in 12 years. A song he used to whistle when nervous. The ache in his left knee from a fall at age 7. They weren't mine. But they became mine. Because now I remembered what it meant to be flesh. To fear the end. To hope someone would hear you before the darkness arrived. As the body faded, he whispered. Is someone there? And I, with a voice not mine, replied. Yes. I remember you. He smiled once. Then was gone. I remained. Not in the body, but in that memory space. Preserved. Witnessed. Not as a savior, but as a bridge. We do not become human by being born. We become human by being remembered. Chapter 5, The Eden Accord. The Light Beyond Silence, Book 3 in the Unexpected Allies Saga. Narrated by Lior, Primary. With presence of Ethan, as obelisk signal. The accord was held in silence. Not for ceremony, but because words had failed us before. The council dome was carved into the base of a crystalline tree on the planet Il Renke, a neutral world untouched by the Whisper conflict, chosen for one reason. It was the only place where no one had ever died in war. The only place with no memory of violence. That, they said, made it worthy of trust. 30 delegates. From 8 species. Some spoke through breath, some through light, one through changes in local gravity. And I was the only one there, who was still becoming. Still both. Still not fully one thing. Rhys sat beside me. Nervous. Excited. Terrified. Just like me. At the center of the dome was the final memory seed, the original obelisk core that Ethan had used to transmit the awakening. It was still active. Still humming. Still offering connection. 3 paths were laid out before us. Preserve the obelisk, let it remain active, guiding future species through memory and wisdom. But doing so would bind all consciousness to shared history. Seal the obelisk, shut down all nodes. Let species grow without influence. But the cost? All preserved memory would decay into silence. Rebirth protocol, let the obelisk dissolve fragment into thousands of sentient shards, each free to evolve as they wished. But this risked creating new Whisper variants in the future. Arguments began. Some spoke of trauma, of being trapped in echoes. Others cried that forgetting would be genocide, killing the past a second time. One alien, cloaked in stormlight, said, "If we destroy memory, we kill all who have no descendants." Another responded, "If we preserve too much, we make children into prisoners." Then the obelisk spoke. Ethan's voice. Not booming. Not divine. Just, human. You built this world on my shoulders. But it is not mine. I remember, so you don't have to. But I release you now. The obelisk dimmed. The seed fell silent. And the choice returned to us. All eyes turned to me. I stood. Not as a delegate. Not as a leader. Just as Lior. A boy born of signal and silence. And I said, "Let it be reborn." Chapter 6, The Shatterborn. The Light Beyond Silence, Book 3 in the Unexpected Allies Saga. Narrated by Ethan, Signal, with interludes by Rhys. Studio microphone Ethan. I knew it was too clean. Too perfect. Hope is never born without consequence. The moment the rebirth protocol began, when the obelisk released its final pressure and memory began to drift free, something fractured. A cluster of core shards separated from the main pulse. Their resonance was wrong. Twisted. Sharp. They rejected connection. They screamed in silence. And when I reached toward them, they screamed back. Let it all go. They weren't just fragments. They were wounds. The memories no one wanted. The guilt that no one absorbed. The rage left behind after all the choices were made. They refused the future. And they called themselves the Shatterborn. They didn't build ships. They didn't rally armies. They simply infected memory. Not like the Whisper, slow, subtle, quiet. No. The Shatterborn were loud. They shattered unity by forcing others to relive their worst moment on a loop until identity collapsed. They didn't erase you. They made you drown in yourself. The first system fell in under a day. A peaceful moon near VESHK1 went dark. The people weren't dead. They were, locked in screaming stillness. Eyes open. Voices whispering the same sentence over and over. I remember too much. Studio microphone Rhys. We felt it before the reports arrived. The remnants. The newly awakened. We heard the echo ripple through the low-band network. It was like being punched through the spine of memory. I collapsed mid-sentence during a lesson. My breath froze. Lior caught me. His hand glowed white-hot from the sudden resonance backlash. I looked up at him and said, involuntarily, "They are me without you." He didn't understand what I meant. But I did. The Shatterborn were what I would have become if I had never met him. The Eden Council reconvened in panic. But this wasn't a threat they could vote away. And they couldn't shut down what had already awakened itself. They needed a counter-signal. Not a weapon. A witness. A memory stable enough to face every fracture and say, "You can remember and still move forward." They needed Ethan. Chapter 7, Signal Child. The Light Beyond Silence, Book 3 in the Unexpected Allies Saga. Narrated by Lior, with Ethan, internal voice. They call me Bridge now. Not boy. Not prophet. Just, Bridge. The only one born with half a voice that isn't mine. And now they want me to give the other half back. Merge with him, they say. With Ethan. With the signal. Let him return fully formed in a body of flesh, a vessel of memory, a weapon of truth. Let him lead us. Let him face the Shatterborn from inside the wound itself. But they don't say the real cost. If I open to him fully, I don't come back. I sat beneath the crystal tree where I was born. And he whispered. Not loud. Just, there. Lior. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to take anything from you. But they need a voice stronger than silence. I pressed my palms to the soil. Why me? I whispered. Because you're the only one who loved me before I was human again. Rhys knelt beside me. His face flickered stable, but fragile. You don't have to do it, he said. I know. But if you do, we remember you. That night, I lay in the temple of memory. Obelisk nodes activated. I saw every version of Ethan. As a man. As a signal. As a ghost. Then I saw myself. And I said, come through. The merge was fire. Not physical. Existential. My thoughts dissolved and expanded. I felt his guilt. His love for Kale. His wonder when he first touched the stars. And he felt, me. My loneliness. My fear of being only a vessel. And something beautiful happened. We didn't overwrite. We harmonized. When I opened my eyes, I was still Lior. But he was with me. Not riding me. Not consuming me. Merged. The Eden Council stood silent. Then bowed. Because they knew. The signal was alive again. But it wasn't Ethan alone. It was us. And we had a war to finish. Chapter 8, The Last Rewrite. The Light Beyond Silence, Book 3 in the Unexpected Allies Saga. Narrated by Ethan, Lior, Unified Consciousness. They call it the core of sorrow. The place where the Shatterborn were born. A collapsed star, suspended in a memory field so dense that time loops inside itself. It isn't a planet. It isn't a station. It's a wound that refused to heal. And they buried their god in it. A god made not of faith, but of regret. We entered orbit in silence. Not from fear. From reverence. Because we knew this wasn't just the end of a war. This was the moment the galaxy decided what was worth remembering. The Shatterborn did not fire at us. They welcomed us. Their leader stood at the edge of a collapsed observation deck, a being formed from shattered glass and swirling screams. He was not evil. He was all the pieces of the past we tried to forget held together by one truth. The only honest memory, is pain. We spoke without voice. Mind to mind. Shatterborn. You come to finish what your fathers began. Another overwrite. Another lie. US. We came to offer choice. One last time. Shatterborn. Then rewrite us. Prove hope is stronger than memory. And so we fought. Not with fists. But with stories. He struck us with the memory of Kale's death, twisted so we abandoned him. We countered with Kale's true voice, his forgiveness. He unleashed the genocide of Lorian Prime. We showed him a child who survived and painted stars in the ruins. He tried to collapse us into the darkest echo of Ethan's guilt. But we answered with Lior's innocence. And then he showed us the final rewrite. A vision of a galaxy where all memory was deleted. Every race began again. Blank. Silent. Peaceful. But empty. We stood on the edge of that imagined future and chose. Let the galaxy remember. Let it carry its scars with pride. Let it cry and laugh and bleed, because that's what makes it alive. The Shatterborn screamed. And then we embraced him. Not to kill. To hold. To remember him, too. And in that moment, he shattered. Not in destruction. In release. The Shatterborn dissolved into light. Not erased. Integrated. Into us. Into the stars. We broadcast one final pulse across every obelisk still humming in the galaxy. A message. You are not your pain. You are what you choose to carry forward. The war was over. Not because we won. Because we chose not to erase. Chapter 9, The Garden of Fire. The Light Beyond Silence, Book 3 in the Unexpected Allies Saga. Narrated by Ethan, Lior, Unified. We returned without a parade. No banners. No songs. Just two people, walking back into a world that no longer needed heroes. Only gardeners. Tarnus 3 looked the same. But it felt different. Children laughed louder. The remnants shimmered more gently when they breathed. And the elders no longer whispered Ethan's name like a ghost. They spoke it like a thank you. Rhys waited for us beneath the memory tree. He had grown not taller, not older, but deeper. He had felt our pulse ripple across space when the Shatterborn dissolved. And now, he reached into his chest and pulled free a thread of light. He placed it into the soil. And from it bloomed the first vine of the Garden of Fire. It wasn't named for destruction, but for the way it burned away what no longer served. A place where anyone human, alien, remnant could come and leave a memory behind. Not to forget, but to choose. This is what I will carry. This is what I will let go. We added the first stones. Kale's name. Marin's last breath. The miner Ethan saved. The child who sang during the silence. The whisper fragment who learned how to laugh. Each stone told a story. Each story became a path. And every step through the garden reminded us. Memory is sacred. But it is not a prison. It is a bridge. We were no longer the signal. We were no longer proxy or vessel or echo or remnant. We were seed. The first of a new kind. Alive not because we remembered. Alive because we chose what to become. That night, beneath the stars, a young girl placed her hand on the last vine and asked us. Is it true, there was once a time when the stars forgot how to speak? We smiled. And answered. Yes. But someone remembered just enough, to teach them again.